You're about to watch the story of one of the most dangerous members of a motorcycle club in the world. Their presence is known only by the fear they instill in their victims. So the story begins with a question. What is the deadliest motorcycle club in the world? That one gang that just their name paints a picture of terror. Even the bravest individuals tremble in fear. You might think it's the Hells Angels, the Outlaws, or even the Mongols. But no, this gang is far more brutal and fearless. Have you heard of the Sons of Silence? Let's find out about their notorious members and the evil they committed. The Sons of Silence Motorcycle Club was founded in Neat, Colorado in 1966 by Bruce "the Dude" Richardson, who moved to Longmont after serving in the U.S. Navy from July 1958 to February 1960. Richardson eventually left the club and died of illness in Scottsbluff, Nebraska on March 26, 2013. The club's national offices relocated to Colorado Springs. Their symbol features an American eagle over the letter A. It looks like the Anheuser-Busch logo. This emblem is worn as a patch on the back of each full member's cut-off jacket, known as colors, along with other badges featuring symbols and words. Members frequently wear supplementary patches featuring the 1% logo and Totten police imagery. The club slogan is Dulcis Mors non separat, which translates to Until Death Separates Us. The Midwest and the Mountain States are home to the majority of the Sons of Silence Motorcycle Club. In 1968, the first chapter was created outside of Colorado in Iowa. The Hells Angels assisted the Sons of Silence in their continued growth. The United States chapters of this organization are currently located in the following states: Arkansas, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, and Wyoming. In 1998, the first international chapter was formed in Munich, Germany. In 2001, other German chapters were formed in Nuremberg, Göppingen, and Freising. In 2007, 2010, and 2016, branches were opened in Virum, Erding, and Föhring. The club members are notorious and known for engaging in several illegal operations including drug trafficking, prostitution, money laundering, assault, intimidation, extortion, and theft. On March 5th, 1972, following their involvement in a bar riot in Colorado Springs, 6 members, Scott Bienendorf, John Barnard, Bobby Mann, Art Miller, Mark Ware, and National President Bruce Richardson, were charged with assault with a deadly weapon and sent to jail. There were 22 people involved in the fight, which started as a power clash between the Sons of Silence and the Dead Men in Filtoon, 2 other motorcycle gangs. Several of the detained Sons of Silence members were allegedly part of a plot to kill police officers and abduct their children. Brian Carl Young, another notorious member of the club, was found guilty earlier that year of criminally negligent homicide in connection with the death of a 16-year-old girl on October 3, 1982, when Young intentionally fired a Ruger .22 caliber rifle that he was experimenting with at the Sons of Silence clubhouse in Commerce City. The Sons of Silence are also involved in the production and distribution of methamphetamine in Colorado. The Colorado chapter of the organization also transports and distributes methamphetamine to other states, notably North Dakota. On January 23, 1983, 6 members of the Sons of Silence, Jackie Howard Jr., James Dean, Jimmy Joney, Gerald W. Richardson, Larry Lee Richardson, Dennis Raymond Swingler, and Ralph W. Vickery, were convicted of conspiracy to manufacture and distribute methamphetamine after Howard, Janke, Swingler, and Vickery were arrested on I-80 in Wyoming while transporting 36 loads of the drug, as well as a mobile drug lab retrieved from Cecilia Martinez, wife of the imprisoned Bar Hoppers Motorcycle Club president Glenn Gary in Modesto, California. These convictions came after an FBI investigation into the Colorado Sons of Silence that started in September 1981 and was helped by FBI informant Beth Pfizer, the ex-wife of club member Robert Pfizer. A member of the Sons of Silence was also charged with murdering a member of Diablos Lobos gang at a bar in Aurora during a turf war in 1983. Another bar fight between the Sons of Silence and the Invaders motorcycle gang in a Denver tavern led to random shootings. Over the years, Sons of Silence gang members have clashed with rival motorcycle gangs. One of such clash is that of Alfred H. Crazy Al Mills, a member of the Invaders, shot and killed Ron Bemis, a Silence biker, in his driveway. Mills was later found guilty of murder. In another clash on April 17, 1993, Paul Robert Pugh Montario Klein, a member of Sons of Silence, was shot and killed by Eugene Herbert Biss in Colorado Springs Gym and Star Bar, where Klein was the bar manager. 5 people were injured, and Stephen Fairfax, a patron of the bar, also died, armed with 4 hand grenades and an assault weapon. This only put an end to his shooting rampage after being shot and hurt by a police officer. This stated that he had gone to the bar to be held until the police arrived after Klein had shot him with a pellet gun earlier that day. In 1995, he was exonerated of charges of murder after his lawyers contended that he had fired in self-defense. Afterwards, Biss was given a 3-year jail sentence for using a firearm on government property. In May 2018, he was shot and killed by Bullen officers. Alfred H. Crazy Al Mills, a member of the Invaders, shot and killed Ron Bemis, a silenced biker in his driveway. Mills was later found guilty of murder. The Outlaw episode of Season 6 of the Investigation Discovery television series, Homicide Hunter, focused on the gunfight at Jebus. Michael Wright is Mike Ramsey, a former member of the Outlaws who left the group in 1974 due to internal strife. Founded the first Sons of Silence chapter in Indiana in the 1970s. Sons of Silence founder Bruce, the Dude Richardson, gave Ramsey permission to start an SOSNC chapter in Indianapolis. Prior to leaving the group, Ramsey held the position of national president for the Sons of Silence. On March 10, 1991, at the age of 50, he died of heart attack. After a period of continuous fighting in which members of the rival clubs would physically attempt to take the colors from opposing bikers, the Sons of Silence's expansion into Indianapolis caused friction with the Outlaws. Then in July 1978, after Outlaws member Dale "Dummy" Lark was nearly fatally stabbed during a bar fight on the city's west side, a war broke out. Several people were killed during the confrontation between the Sons of Silence and the Outlaws in Indianapolis in the late 1970s and early 1980s, including 2 girlfriends of Sons of Silence members. Thomas Walter Satan Reeves, the national vice president of the Outlaws, was killed on March 5, 1980, when 2 assailants entered the clubhouse at 1210 East Ohio Street and started firing automatic guns. Members of the Outlaws and the Sons of Silence had been drinking together at a tavern on Indianapolis East Side a few hours prior to the shooting. After entering the Outlaws clubhouse, Sons of Silence bikers were marched out at gunpoint. On November 15, 1981, outside the Sons clubhouse, Outlaws member John "Big Jack" Slater was shot by Sons of Silence member Eric "Doc" Lebowski with a .38 caliber pistol, leaving him crippled. Then another Sons of Silence member, Hendrik "Savage" Jansen, put Slater in a van and shot him to death with a 12-gauge shotgun. Lebowski was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter, but Jansen was found not guilty despite his testimony indicating that he thought Slater was already dead when he fired the shot. Bruce Burke Eastman was shot and died on May 30, 1984, while answering the door of the Sons of Silence clubhouse in Indianapolis. In October 1977, Ronald "Badron" Gruber, a Sons of Silence enforcer, was found guilty of rape and assault in Black Hawk County and sentenced to 35 years in jail. He and another prisoner at U.S. State Penitentiary were sued by 2 officers they had beaten. Gruber was one of several club members found guilty of federal racketeering in 1994 after being freed. Clark Joseph Cook, a member of Sons of Silence, was found guilty of possessing methamphetamine on September 5, 1993 during an Iowa State Patrol traffic check. Cook was caught in possession of a bag of the narcotic. In November 1994, a group of 14 members or ex-members were charged with conspiracy, money laundering, racketeering, and using violence to further their criminal activities in Cedar Rapids. 12 were taken into custody right away and either entered guilty pleas or were found guilty. Along with Kayla "Foxy" Pinkerton, Milton Charles "Barbed Wire" Wilson, the president of the Sons of Silence Kansas City branch, was accused in May 2014 of smuggling a minor across state lines for prostitution. In December 2013, Wilson drove Pinkerton and the victim around in Missouri and Kansas. On April 1, 2015, they both entered guilty pleas to the crime. Wilson received a 10-year prison sentence in September 2015, while Pinkerton received a 16-month sentence. Following his guilty plea in August 1984, Sons of Silence founder Bruce "the Dude" Richardson was sentenced to 6 years in prison for employing Robert Leslie Kitke to plan the kidnapping of Dr. Michael Rohr from a Buffalo hotel in May of that same year. It was said that following a failed business endeavor, Rohr owed Richardson's wife, Patricia Strahan, around $260,000, and that part of this money was being sought after by Rohr through the abduction. Following the failure of legal actions to retrieve the monies, Michael Ratley, Robert Jordan, Ariel Falcon, and Strahan were also sentenced for the kidnapping. There are chapters of the Sons of Silence in Bismarck, Fargo, Grand Forks, and Minot. The club traffics methamphetamine all over North Dakota. To avoid detection from law authorities, it usually distributes the substance at retail through smaller, linked motorcycle gangs. Methamphetamine made in Mexico is shipped into North Dakota and distributed by Sons of Silence chapters in neighboring states, mostly Colorado. Rancher Jack Scholl of Williston, whose body was discovered in rural Williams County the following month after he vanished in April 2013, is said to have been killed on orders from the Sons of Silence. Members of Sons of Silence Corey Rutherford, Matthew James Wedgwood, and Nicholas B. Hansen entered guilty pleas to charges arising from an April 10, 2017 altercation at a Rock Springs bar in which they assaulted and stole the colors of rival Badass Motorcycle Club member Bradley Krisman. In October 2017, the three were given suspended prison terms. Like our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more crime videos.